We're talking about charting the future of aerospace and defense with the president of Boeing International, Sir Michael Arthur. Thank you so much for joining us. As a leading global aerospace company, Boeing continues to be a pioneer in manufacturing and servicing commercial airlines, defense products, and space systems for customers in more than 150 countries. And they're not just investing in global markets, their localization efforts are helping global partners, including here in Saudi Arabia, putting their sustainability policies into practice and exemplifying the partnerships at the heart of the Crown Prince's Vision 2030. And Boeing's adoption of advanced technologies to create new economic opportunities across MENA and the world. Sir Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Elise. Great to be here with you, and great to be in Riyadh for the 6th FII. It's a great success so far.
Wow. Well,
Fantastic.
It's certainly more crowded this year. You've really been a driving force in translating Boeing's commitment to sustainability and into company policy. And you recently put out a sustainability report. I'd like to talk about some of the key highlights there.
Yeah. Well, first, just to set the context. You started off talking about the future of humanity and innovation and so on. We have to remember that 80% of the world has never flown in an aeroplane. And flying, aviation, is a noble business. We connect the world, we make business growth and so on. So those people deserve to fly, but we're all committed to net zero by 2050, and the Kingdom is with them in the ICAO committing to that target. So it's incumbent on us, the industry, to help those 80% fly sustainably. And we, Boeing, are making that one of our very top priorities for the next few years, already now. And as you say, we published a big report, actually the second one, last summer, because sustainability has to be central stage for aviation, for an aerospace, for the next decade. And I can give you some examples of what we're doing.
But let's talk about one of those examples. Boeing is committed to delivering commercial airplanes capable of flying on 100% sustainable fuels by 2030. What are your plans to expand the production of sustainable aviation fuel to expedite that transition to renewable energy and grow the amount of SAF for the global aerospace market?
Well, Elise, well done. You know the background on this. I've done your homework.
I do my homework.
Actually, the single best thing that airlines can do, and many people and our customers are doing this, is to renew your fleet. Because a modern aeroplane is about 25% more carbon efficient than the aeroplane it replaces. So the single biggest low-hanging fruit and easy win is a new aeroplane. And you're seeing that across the world now, across the fleets. You can also, we invest a lot in digital technology to make aeroplanes fly more efficiently, more efficient trajectories and so on, to save about 10%. But to your question, you're spot on. The only real answer, particularly for the long-haul flights, for the next 20, 30 years, is more sustainable aviation fuel. We make planes that you can use that in now. You're allowed to blend up to 50%. By 2030, that will be 100%. We've committed to that. But the challenge is not making SAF. We know how to do that. The industry knows how to do that. It's getting the volume and the distribution so that the airline customers have it available for their flights. So we can make the planes and the engines fly on it, but they just got to get a price that is acceptable to the airline and the customer and the supply to make it happen. And I'm hoping that around this region, and particularly in the Kingdom, with all the renewable energy resources they've got and the Vision 2030 commitment to renewability, this will be an area that we can develop in this country.
Right, and there's so much talk here at the FII about renewable, the transition to renewables. A centerpiece of those sustainability efforts is localization. And there's no bigger example, I think, of what you're doing than your partnership with the Kingdom, which goes back about 75 years or so, as long as the relationship itself. And you have, in a sense, helped develop the Saudi aerospace industry. I know you recently announced some exciting programs during President Biden's visit. Talk to us about how Boeing is playing a part in helping the kingdom expand its advanced industrial sector?
Well, we're very proud to have been here for all the time you just mentioned, and we were right at the beginning of the establishment of an aerospace industry in this country. We helped co-found the first aerospace company, and we've grown ever since. We've got about 2,000 Boeing employees here now, full-time, working on Boeing and other products here. This is particularly in the defense area, so it's both defense and commercial. So on the defense side, when you have the Saudi Air Force, for example, has aeroplanes that need servicing, of course you do that locally because that's where the customer is. And so we've built up quite a big operation, both on rotorcraft, on helicopters, and on fixed wing to keep those maintained, serviced, and flying, and so on. And that will grow. But alongside that, we're now looking at also how we can develop deeper supply chains into the aerospace industry in this country. I'll give you one example. Earlier this year, we signed an MOU with the Saudi authorities to develop aerospace-grade aluminium. And we're looking at other metals that are used in airplanes that we might develop here. Chemicals is another one. So I see a big future for aerospace in the kingdom. And given our long history here, we're proud and delighted to be helping grow that industry.
So partnerships with the government create these indigenous industries, and so you're not only expanding your footprint, but you're investing in communities, so there's a multiplier effect, right? I mean, you're creating other businesses, jobs. That ensures sustainability, and I think that's really what the Vision 2030 is all about.
Absolutely, and with that, of course, comes developing human capital. So we work a lot with universities in this country. I was visiting one yesterday, the CAXT, which is where they do research, and we're doing some research on space issues there. We're doing research at Al Faisal University on solar panels. We're doing it down in Jeddah with KAUST on artificial intelligence. But all these things for the future, so innovation in aerospace, if you like, where the kingdom is going to be one of the players globally and a big partner for us. Very exciting. And that brings with it young people's growth, of course.
Right, and you're approaching localization in a similar way with India. I know Brazil is also a big market. Where are those other opportunities around the world?
Well, it's really wherever aerospace and aviation are growing. I mean, globalization means localization. I mean, all governments want to develop their own indigenous industry, and each has to find where they've got a particular niche to play in. And for example, back to SAF, I mean, in this country, you won't make SAF out of forests because you haven't got forests, but you will make SAF out of renewable energy. If you go to Indonesia or to Vietnam or to Brazil, you'll make it out of biomass. So there are different routes up the same path. And the same is true for other aspects of aviation innovation. Some countries will be top in one area and others in another. And the challenge for us is to find the best in the world, which is why we're here for certain specific things, because they're going to be the best in the world. And in India, similarly.
So Boeing has a commitment to address, innovation, to address real-world problems, creating opportunities. What's on the horizon? What are some of the interesting things you're working on?
Well, I think the industry is at a turning point in its 100-year history. And two big changes are coming along. We've talked about sustainability, and that's going to be a big driver, technologically, intellectually, and in every other way. But the other one that's coming along is autonomous flight. So we're already seeing people with drones, and the next step along from that will be freight carrying with autonomous vehicles, and then there will be passenger carrying with autonomous vehicles.
How far away is that?
I'm going to give a good example. I mean, down in California, we have a joint venture called Whisk, which I'm really excited about. And we are developing basically an urban taxi, an electric vertical takeoff helicopter.
Kind of like George Jetson.
Well, it's fantastic. And so this thing lifts itself up with about 12 rotors, and then a bigger rotor pushes it along at 100 miles an hour to cross cities, get to airports, like an Uber of the air. And
Uber Air.
Uber Air. And what will happen there is there will be dedicated corridors that these things buzz up and down, and they don't have a pilot. So you and I will get in them. There'll be 4 people in one, and we'll go to the airport for the price of an Uber in 10 minutes. And we're going to bring that to market we hope, within the next few years. I've seen it fly. I mean, it's done thousands of hours of flights. It's incredible. And it's as quiet as a car, too. Quiet in this room.
Well, certainly a lot of developments, not just here in the kingdom and in the region, but also in terms of innovation, and Boeing will really be at the forefront of that. Sir Michael Arthur, President of Boeing International, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Elise. Thank you.